Yo, what's good people? Welcome back to another video. In this one, I'm going to be showing you how to make thumbnails and what to think about when you're making them. So thumbnails play a huge part in a video's performance, and it's what really makes someone want to click on a video. There's around 30,000 new videos uploaded to YouTube every hour, and if someone's scrolling through their home feed looking for new videos or beats, then you have to make sure that yours is going to stand out. It's got to be really eye-catchy, otherwise someone's just going to scroll straight past it. The other thing you need to think about is branding. So not only do you need your video to pop, but it needs to relate to your brand. So you might want to include some of your brand colors, which I discussed in a previous video. Maybe you want to think about adding a logo so people recognize it. Or if you're new to it, you just want to make sure that you're sticking to a consistent theme. Essentially, you just want to make sure that someone recognizes it as your thumbnail, as your video or beat. So don't be changing your thumbnail every single video. You can play around with it at the start if you're just creating a type beat channel. But once you find one that starts to work, then definitely stick with it. And I'm going to show you how to measure results properly further down the line, so don't worry about that just yet. So let's start with the main image, because usually you'll see what people do is they'll actually use an image of the artist. Now, I'll be real, technically you're not supposed to do that because you don't own the rights to use that image. So I guess if they really wanted to, the original creator could have the video taken down. I don't really see it happening much, but again, that's just my personal experience. I don't know, it could have happened to a lot of people. But if you're adamant you want to use one, then I'll show you a handy tool. So I use a free Chrome extension called Screenshot, and you can see once you install it, you just get this screenshot button here. Now, I'm on a Central C video because I make a lot of his type of beats, so if I wanted to use something from him, then what I do is find a moment where I can see his eyes and it's pretty clear, his face is pretty visible. So I stop at a part like this, and then I can use the open and close brackets to go back and forth for a single frame. So I'm just going to go back a few frames and maybe get something like that. And then when I click screenshot, it's just going to download it. But again, I'm not advising you to do this. I'm just showing you some handy tools because I know some people do use this. If you want to stay safe, then what I'd personally recommend doing is using a site such as Unsplash, because this is a royalty-free image site, meaning you're entitled to use these images. This one's really good too because all the images are really high quality. They have loads of different images on here, so you might want to start with something like this. It just depends what theme you want to go for. But I'll show you what I usually do to an image and how I edit it. So I could just type in something like rapper, and maybe I want to use something like this if I'm going for something dark. I'm just going to download that. And I personally use Photoshop to make my thumbnails, and I know that not everyone has Photoshop, not everyone can afford it. So if you want a free alternative, there's one called GIMP, which I've never personally used, but I know you can do a lot with it. Or you can use something like Canva and just get a free trial. I think they've even got some free plans available on there, which means that you don't really have to upgrade. But yeah, I'm going to show you what I do on Photoshop. So let's create a new file. And for the width, you could either use 1920 by 1080, or YouTube actually recommends going for 1280 by 720. So let's just do that. 1280 by 720. We'll click create. Now I'm just going to drag the image I downloaded in here. So there's a couple ways you can go about editing it. But if you just wanted to use like a full screen image of the artist, then, you know, maybe you want to actually find a landscape photo, because sometimes when you zoom in, it goes all blurry. But let's just see. All I did there was hold Command or Alt. I'm left clicking and I'm dragging, because that keeps the same proportion. It just extends it or makes it bigger. So I'll make it full screen. Click here. And it's still pretty clear, so I'd be happy using that. Now to make this pop, what I like to do is go to Filter and Camera Raw Filter. And we'll start with basic. Sometimes I like to bring blacks down here because it makes any like dark colors stand out a bit more. And then I like to bring the saturation up because this is what's going to make it a lot more vibrant. Because look, if I bring it all the way up, it's a bit too much. All the way down is black and white. So I just want to make sure it's popping. And then I can bring the vibrance up as well, because again, it's another tool to make it more vibrant. Now I like to improve the clarity and sometimes the texture. And then I go into detail, increase the sharpening, and then just a little bit of noise reduction, because sometimes when you increase things like the sharpening, you start seeing some noise, some small grains in the photos. So this is just going to help remove them. Now if I click OK, that was before, which looks fine, but this just pops a lot more. Next, I could grab the text tool. Now for the text, most people like to add the title of the track. So what I'd recommend doing is just picking a font that's really clear to read, because most people are scrolling through their phone looking at thumbnails. So you don't want too many words in there. You want to make it really clear and visible. So be careful with the type of font that you choose. Make sure it's something that works with your brand. Maybe use that font in other areas of the business. Maybe use it on your Instagram or wherever else you post content. But yeah, let's go for something clear. I'll show you a few examples. So lemon milk is a clear one. This is another one, Bebas New, I think that's how you say it. And let's just type in a random title. Let's say the title of your track is Smoking in a Belly, and we've got this image that actually represents the title of your track. What I'd recommend doing is just including like one of the keywords, not the SEO keywords, but just one of the main words of the title of your beat. So for example, smoking. Just because if I put smoking in a belly, sometimes when you make that text bigger, it can look too squished. So I like to just use like 1 or 2 words in the thumbnail. It doesn't mean you have to do that though. These aren't like set rules. Nobody said this. It's just what I personally would like to do. So yeah, maybe I just want to put something like smoking and make the text a lot bigger. Maybe even bigger than that. Let's try 300. And then I'm going to bring this tool back to round about here, just until when all the text is visible. Because now I can click here, select the full thing, click there, and then just make sure it's in the middle. So we've got smoking here. Now you can see it's not really popping because the mask behind is white. The face is hidden now, so what I might want to do is just change the image. Maybe get the eyes in there. Or I could bring this down and just bring my text a little bit further down. That might be better. Now if I double click in the text, I could add something like a stroke. Keep the color black, bring the size up. Or I could do something like add a drop shadow, which I personally prefer. I could increase the size of that. I just want to make sure it's actually popping. Just increase the spread. If it's too much, it just looks like a stroke anyway, so I'm going to leave it around about there. Distance, I could put that maybe here. And then that might be all I need for the text. And now I've just dragged in my logo too. Again, I'm going to hold Alt or Command, click and drag, so it's going to keep the same proportion. Click that check. So this is the move tool. So anytime this is selected, it means I can move things around. And I like Photoshop because if I'm dragging it, it's going to snap it when it gets to the center. So I now can leave it around about here. And then I can double click on the logo, go to color overlay, maybe make that white too. I'm going to set the blend mode to normal, bring the opacity all the way up. And then again, I'll add a drop shadow here. That might be a bit too much, so I'll decrease the size, bring the spread back, and maybe even the distance. So look, this is before, and then after. Just makes it pop a little bit more. Maybe I could bring the text back up a bit. Probably make that logo a bit smaller. So yeah, that's how I'd make a really basic thumbnail. I'm using a royalty-free image, so I know I wouldn't get in any trouble or get a video removed or be demonetized. The title's really clear. I know it's going to pop, so I'd be happy uploading that. I've just switched up my style of thumbnail recently because what I've started thinking about is, okay, a lot of people are using the same thumbnails, so I really want mine to stand out. Let's just have a look and see what everyone is actually using. So if I'm on vidIQ, let's type in Central C type beat, because we used that before. Now if we look at the best performing videos, we can actually see the ones that pop. So straight away, Young Finessa, he's always popping. He's got some light leaks in there. I can see he's brought the saturation up really high. That's why this looks really bright and vibrant. And that's the type of stuff that makes you want to click on it. It attracts the eye. But what I'd say is just don't copy that. You can look at it as a good format and get some inspiration, but you want yours to be different. If you start doing the same as everyone else, then it's just going to be really hard to stand out. So look at what works, use vidIQ, use TubeBuddy to see what videos are actually ranking, which ones are popping, and use it for inspiration. So right now I'm actually seeing a lot of videos use this kind of format where there's like just plain black at the sides and it's just an image in the middle. That's becoming really popular and it seems to be working. So what I've decided to do on my Typebeat channel is take this format but then add my own twist. So I'll show you now, but whilst I'm on here, I'm just going to go to File, Export, Export As. And then because YouTube needs it to be under 2 MB, I'm going to keep it as JPEG because it's more of a compressed one. If you want to keep the quality, then go for PNG, but then you might not be able to upload it. You can see the file size there actually. So if it's under 2 meg as a PNG, then save it as that. If not, then go for JPEG. And then you could just bring the quality all the way up. And then from here, you can just click export. save it where you need to save it, and then you can upload it to YouTube. But yeah, this is the one that I'm currently using, and I had a designer make this for me just because I wanted to play around with some different ideas. I've only just started using this though, so I haven't been able to collect enough data to see how it performs compared to my old one, but I'm working on it. So yeah, like I said, I've noticed that on YouTube, a lot of people are going for this format now, where there's black at both sides and then just an image in the middle. So I thought I'd take that idea and then add my own twist. So I have my logo. So instead of having a plain black background, I have a little bit of a texture. And then around the square image in the middle, I have cactus spikes. So this is just making sure that I'm on brand. And then I have my logo in the middle. And then with the image, you can see I have increased the saturation, but I'm keeping it a little bit grainy just because I'm going for that edgy type of look. And then all I need to do with this template is every time I make a new beat, I can just change the image in here, save it. So for example, maybe it was this one last time, and then I'm ready to go. But like I said, I had this one professionally made for me. So if you're at a point where you can invest in things like this and you're not the best at graphic design, then definitely think about hiring someone to do it, because they're the experts. They know what's visually pleasing, especially if you find someone that's worked with YouTube thumbnails before. So it's definitely worth thinking about. Another quick thing to think about is the type of emotion that's expressed in the thumbnail. So emotion and faces tend to make people want to click on them. So for example, if you are making sad drill type beats, then maybe you want to find an image with someone looking sad in it, because that's the quickest way to tell someone what the beat is going to be like. People usually see a thumbnail first and then they check the title, so you really want to capture the attention and give them as much information as possible in the thumbnail, but subtly. Now to actually test the thumbnail's performance, I'm going to show you a couple of things. So I'm on my YouTube, I'm going to go to YouTube Studio. So this is my most recent video from yesterday. I've only just signed up for ad revenue, so that's why it's only like $25 on this account. You can see in the last 28 days, my views are 67.4 thousand, which isn't bad. And these are my top videos. So if I go to ranking by views, this last video is performing about average for my channel. But what I want you to look at is impressions click-through rate. So this is telling me that for everyone who's actually seen this video in the home feed or from searching, the click-through rate is 10.6%. So 10.6% of the people who have actually seen this video on YouTube have clicked on it, which is actually quite a good number. But just know that the more your video is recommended to other people, the lower the click-through rate is naturally going to be. On my JCactus TV channel, my average click-through rate is about 8%. But that's because my videos on there get a lot more views compared to my beats. And so YouTube actually recommend my videos to a lot more people. So the more they recommend it, the lower the click-through rate is naturally going to be. On my type beats, it's usually around like 12 to 13%. So right now I'm looking for ways to keep improving it. So that's one thing that you want to think about when you're using thumbnails. Just monitor your click-through rate. If you're seeing that it's really low, maybe change the title, change the thumbnail, make something more eye-catching, and just experiment with a few things until you find something that works. If you have the money to pay for the premium features on TubeBuddy, one thing you can look at is A/B testing, which I really like. Now let me show you this. So I have TubeBuddy for both channels, but I only have the premium features for JCactus TV because it's what I mainly focus on. And sometimes I use A/B tests. And what A/B tests do is they'll actually compare thumbnails for you. So you can see with some previous tests that I've ran, I wasn't sure about which thumbnail I wanted to use. So I used TubeBuddy to actually compare the two. So what happens is, let's say for example, this one here. This was the original thumbnail that I had, and then this was the variation. So I couldn't decide by this thumbnail or this one. So I created an A/B test, and then it automatically links to the video that you select. So it will take that thumbnail, and then you'll upload a second thumbnail, which was this one. And then usually it will compare it over 2 weeks. So it will swap the thumbnail every day to see how it performs on each day of the week. Or there's an option to just run it for as long as TubeBuddy needs until they have enough data, which I don't exactly know how long it takes them. It depends on how the video is performing. But yeah, if you take a look at this, so the second option that I added was performing 2.1 times better than the original. So obviously I wanted to go for the new one. In this variation, the second thumbnail that I added was performing 36.5% more than the original. So obviously it's a much higher click-through rate. And I could keep testing this too, so I could make a third thumbnail and then compare that against the winning one, and then just keep going to continuously improve your video. So yeah, I mean, you can kind of monitor this manually by constantly looking at your click-through rate on YouTube, but if you have the money, it might be worthwhile looking into something like this. I'm actually going to pay for the premium version to test my Typebeat channel too. So yeah, that's everything that you need to know about thumbnails for now. Just make sure that it relates to your video. It's not just clickbait. It's eye-catching, it's on brand, and it's consistent. Consistency is the main thing. So whatever thumbnail you decide to go with, make sure all your videos have that same style of thumbnail, because then people will start to recognize them as your beats and your videos. In the next few videos, I'm going to be teaching you how to upload your beats to a beat platform like BeatStars, and then how to distribute them across all streaming platforms.